Eggs. They're a hot topic right now, and for good reason. Egg prices have gone up 70% in the past year. This has prompted some people to start thinking about getting backyard chickens. Now, it might be a while before I'm able to do that, but in the meantime, I've been trying to learn as much as I can, which is why when I passed by these eggs in the grocery store, Heritage Free Range on Pasture really caught my eye. But what got my attention even more was the rich amber yolks. Plus, look at that little egg. He's so cute. When I got home and cracked some of these open, they were impressively orange. I hadn't seen anything like that before. Which got me thinking, why are these eggs orange? Are orange eggs healthier than yellow eggs? And most importantly, do they taste better? To compare, I got the cheapest standard large eggs I could find, something I'd normally buy in a typical week. Now these were $3.99. White eggs, perfectly fine, nothing wrong with them. But even just looking at these other eggs, the difference is impressive. These are brilliantly brown and blue, with slightly different shades and shapes. They might not be as uniform as the white eggs, but they're definitely prettier to look at. Now, these were $8, but I was able to get them on sale for $7.50. But I will talk more about that price difference later in the video. So next, I made 2 renditions of Scott's Scrumptious Scrambled eggs. The first big difference, aside from the color, was that the Heritage eggs had a much thicker shell. They felt a lot sturdier, and they were even slightly harder to crack. And just look at the difference in the yolks when you put these side by side. To each pair of eggs, I added 0.1 grams of salt, 0.1 grams of pepper, 0.35 grams of garlic powder, and 0.35 grams of onion powder. Normally, I don't measure these things out, I just sprinkle some in, but I wanted to be as accurate as possible, so I was only tasting the difference between the eggs. Then I dump all that seasoning in and whisk for 30 seconds. I preheated my pan for 5 minutes on 3 with 2 teaspoons of olive oil, and then cooked on 4 for 5 minutes, adding 1 slice of American cheese and stirring almost constantly. I wanted to make these side by side so one wouldn't cool down and affect the flavor. Now I know some of you chef people out there might be saying there's a difference with cooking with the ceramic pan and the steel pan, but I cooked them on a pretty low temperature, so I don't think that'll be an issue. I thought the orange color might fade a little bit with cooking, but it really didn't. They're still very easy to tell the difference between. So now for the taste test. Let's dig into these regular ones first. Pretty good. Tastes like a scrambled egg. No disappointment, very scrumptious. And now for the Heritage eggs. Let's see. These are almost a little bit creamier. They kind of got like an umami thing going on. Yeah, wow, no, I am just surprised at how much creamier these are. So I would say these are definitely better than the regular eggs. Now that we know there's a difference in taste, though, are they actually healthier? CBC News did an investigation into different eggs and their nutritional values, and the results were pretty surprising. Before diving into it, though, we need to quickly go over some vocabulary. Egg marketing is notoriously fuzzy and misleading, so it's important we get our terms right. First, caged eggs are still the industry standard and make up 80 to 90% of eggs sold in the US. If you don't see any labeling, they are caged eggs. If you see something like farm fresh or natural, those are bogus marketing terms, and if you don't see anything else, it probably means they're still caged eggs. Likewise, hormone and antibiotic-free labeling doesn't mean anything because no chickens are raised like that.
Every day, More lies.
Cage-free is the next step up, and simply means they're not kept in the normal industry standard cages. They're usually in some type of open barn concept. After that, free range means they're still in that open barn concept, but they have some sort of access to the outdoors. This is a very broad term, though, and can mean anything from a little bit of patio space to a wide-ranging field with grass and anything in between. So it's important to double-check with the farm and producer for clarification. Pasture-raised is a newer term and indicates that chickens spent a large portion of their life on pasture or with access to pasture. Now, there is no government-enforced definition of what pasture-raised is, or even what pasture is, so it's still important to double-check with the producer to understand how they are raising these chickens. But in general, pasture-raised is a good indicative term that these chickens had more space and were living normal chicken lives. And finally, organic. Organic just means the chickens were fed an organic feed, and at a minimum, they were also free range. So those are all the standard egg terms. So what does heritage mean? Fortunately, Happy Eggs clarifies this on their website. Heritage refers to the style of the breed, being a non-traditional hen for the laying flock. Specifically, speckled leg bars are the ones that lay the blue eggs, and copper Morans are the ones that lay the dark brown eggs. Now, with all that out of the way, let's see what the nutritional difference was between these different categories. Between conventional caged eggs and big brand organic eggs, there was almost no difference in nutritional value. The only exception was the organic eggs had 2 to 3 times the amount of omega-3s. But notice I said big brand. It turns out there was a significant difference between the organic eggs from small producers and local farms versus the organic eggs from large producers. Small farm eggs had, on average, 50% more vitamin E, 55% more vitamin D, and 1 gram or 17% more protein compared to the big brands. What this basically came down to was diet and exercise. The smaller the farm, the more likely the hens would have a better diet and more access to the outdoors to forage and exercise. Imagine that, diet and exercise being the foundations for health. Crazy. So that all explains what on pasture means and gives us an idea of the nutritional difference. But none of that explains why these eggs are orange. It turns out egg pigmentation comes from the carotenoids in a chicken's food. Carotenoids are an organic pigment that give things like pumpkins and carrots their characteristic color. But almost all plants have some level of carotenoids in them, not just orange vegetables. This could be part of the orange color from the pastured chickens, since they'd have access to grass and other vegetation. But the depth of the color here likely means their regular feed was supplemented even further. In fact, Happy Eggs' website shows that there's a distinction between the heritage eggs and a separate organic line. My guess is the supplement they feed the hens to darken the yolk is a synthetic additive which disqualifies an organic label. So even though the carotenoids come in their diet, it looks like the orange color doesn't have a direct influence on the flavor or nutrition of the eggs. After all, you can have pasture-raised small farm eggs that are yellow, or in theory, caged eggs that are orange through supplements. So is that it? Does the orange color just come down to what they eat?
There's more. Come on.
DSM is a bioscience company that does a lot of work with health, nutrition, and agriculture. They're actually the ones behind the egg color wheel. DSM says that only healthy chickens can have orange yolks, because only healthy chickens have the capacity to correctly absorb and pass on the pigments to their eggs. Even if an unhealthy chicken eats enough carotenoids in their food, it won't be able to affect their eggs because of their poor health. So in this way, orange-tinted eggs can be a visual confirmation that the chickens they came from are at the very least healthy. Even if the orange color can't directly tell you anything about the nutrition of the egg itself. Plus, I think the color is pretty neat. But the big question, is it worth it? Compared to the generic eggs, on taste alone, I have to say no. They're definitely better, but not twice the price better. I imagine I'll still buy them every once in a while to treat myself. Plus, orange eggs can be great for certain recipes. like having the yolk color affect homemade pasta or a rich orange yolk soft boiled with some ramen. But for everyday use, I'm still probably going to stick with the generic eggs, at least until I can get my own chickens. And just as a disclaimer, I am not a nutritionist, but every nutritionist I've heard on the topic says that generic eggs are not bad for you. There might be better options, but eggs are a great part of any healthy diet, and they're a great source of protein. Just want to put that out there to be perfectly clear. So to summarize all of this, egg nutrition seems to improve as chickens are given better diets and more exercise, with the healthiest eggs coming from small farm operations. These healthier eggs do seem to have a better flavor, likely tied to the chicken's diet and an increase in omega-3s, giving it that extra creaminess. The orange color is based on the carotenoids in the chicken's diet, and does not give direct information about the nutrition of the eggs, but it does indicate the chicken is healthy, which is pretty cool. All of my sources for all of these things are in the description down below. If you have any thoughts or questions, feel free to drop a comment, but I hope you found this as interesting as I did while I was researching it. That's all for now, till next time.